welcome everybody to another SE review show. Today, I've got a special guest in person with me, David from Sound Epistemology. What's up, David?
Hello. Thanks. It's good to be back in LA.
Yeah. I also have joining us Quayd and Michael. What's up, guys?
Hey. Hello.
Yeah. So we're going to be reviewing one of David's videos he did, or audio conversations he did on Clubhouse. Want to give some background on that? So just give an intro to yourself. I don't think you've been on one of these review shows yet. Who are you, and what's going on?
Yeah, it's my first time, and how lucky I am to be in person here in LA with you to do my first interview review video.
Yeah.
My name's David, and I live in Olympia, Washington, right along the shores of the Puget Sound, which is where the name Sound Epistemology comes from. It is a private Facebook group and also a Twitter handle, so you can check it out.
Gotcha.
I also run the Chapman Bay YouTube channel. It's got a playlist for street epistemology-ish stuff. So that's where you can find those and this video that we're going to be reviewing today.
Mm-hmm. And you also run the Street Epistemology Clubhouse now, pretty much.
That's what I hear. Yeah, we do an SE 101 room every Saturday afternoon, Pacific time, 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been going really well. We were in the Atheism Club, and with the push to move SE beyond atheism,
Mm-hmm.
we took over the SE Club. So now it's in Street Epistemology Club on Clubhouse on Saturdays.
Great. And that's what it's for. Seems appropriate. And I think, I've been on the SE 101 Clubhouse room. Have you guys been on it?
Yeah, I've been on it. That's good.
Yeah. Both Quayd and Michael have both been guests in the old room, and you've been on, I think, twice. Once with Anthony,
Mm-hmm.
and then once by yourself.
Right. And then I'm coming on again this Saturday. Is that right?
I believe so. Yeah. And this
Right.
will be your first time in the new room, and I've been telling people to try not to lean up against the walls because the paint still is drying in that room. So just be on the lookout for that.
Okay. Want to give context for this video?
Yes. So this video is a one-on-one that I had with someone that had entered in Jenna Belk's room when she was a guest. In that club, the format was we were going to basically do a presentation of what SE was. We're going to have a Q&A to ask the guest, and then the open discussion towards the end. During the open discussion towards the end, this particular person, Sagon, came into the room in what I call is Kramering the room. So it's like Kramer comes into the room in Seinfeld and basically just takes all the oxygen. And it was great because it seemed like being in the atheism room, he was kind of looking for a fight. And he basically just came out and asked, God chose you out of a million sperm, and this is how you thank him by being in this room.
Wow.
And it seemed like he was just looking for some blood sport. Could be wrong, but a lot of people just kind of like to hang out in the atheism club and start stuff.
Yeah.
So basically, I tried to defuse what looked like could become kind of antagonistic. I heard him out. I kind of asked him some questions, let him ask some, and I basically wanted to set up a one-on-one with him to kind of go over some things. So it was a nice, calm interaction. We set up this particular video, and then after this one, we set up a second one that is also on the YouTube channel also. So that kind of gives the context as far as where we're at, and we'll probably start about a minute or so into the video.
Gotcha. Any comments or questions for David, Quayd or Michael?
Nope.
All right. Let's get into it.
I'm glad I got that context because that makes it even more interesting. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, since it's just audio, I'll just play it and then keep it on us. Here we go.
Yeah, and like I said, that interaction is on the video in which Jenna Belk is the guest. So if you want to see that and how that kind of all happened, you can go watch that video also.
Right. Okay. Well, here we go.
Hello.
Hello, how are you, Mr. David?
Great. How are you, Sagon?
I'm fine. I'm doing fine. Thanks so much.
Great. Is that how you pronounce your name? I want to make sure that I pronounce it correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, Sagon. Awesome.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for joining our room yesterday and sharing your thoughts and asking your questions. And I want to thank you for agreeing to have a one-on-one with me today.
My pleasure, brother.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. You said yesterday, I think, that you live in Dubai. Is that correct?
Yes, I live in Dubai.
Okay, awesome.
I work in Dubai.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that part.
I said I work in Dubai. I'm a salesman.
You work in Dubai. Okay,
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Do you want to tell me a little bit about yourself? I'm interested.
Yeah, and I was born in Kenya, and then I studied in Kenya, and I came to Dubai like 2018, and I've been living in Dubai since then. I've been working since then. I was born and raised a Muslim person. I was born in a Muslim family, so I was raised in a strict Islamic faith.
Okay.
So yeah, that's basically. And my ethnicity is I'm Somali.
Somali. Okay.
Yeah.
And you lived in Kenya, and now you live in Dubai.
Yes, I was born in Kenya. Yeah.
You're born in Kenya. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't get to speak to a lot of people that live in Dubai or were born in Kenya. So this is fantastic.
Yeah, and it will be a nice experience for you.
Yeah. So do you hang out in Clubhouse a lot, or I'm pretty new at it, so
yeah, me too. Me too. I just joined recently. Yeah.
What are the conversations that you have typically in Clubhouse?
Usually, I usually see a lot of atheism and anti like it's most of the clubs I usually go into. It's about atheism.
Uh-huh.
Because I don't know if you're atheist yourself.
Well, yesterday you said that I was.
Yeah, because I actually I mistake you for somebody else. I think. You sound the same.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but there's this one guy. He's called Sam. I don't know, Sam or Sam. His name. You kind of have the same voice. So actually, yeah.
I see. Okay. Yeah, no problem.
I can probably.
So you wanted to
about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So on my profile bio in Clubhouse, I identify as an igtheist with an I.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because there's so many different definitions of atheism, and it's got a lot of baggage that comes with it. And I basically identify as igtheism because it starts the conversation and instead of ending it in like what happens in a lot of cases. And it gives me a chance to kind of feel the other person out as far as their views on that sort of thing. This particular Clubhouse room was an atheism club. And he said that he had me mistaken with somebody else. And so that's kind of how all that went down.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
All right. Next up, here we go.
explore. You said that it's a fact that iron came from outer space. Is that oh, and before I go there, I just want to make sure that it's okay with you if we record this and I upload it. Do I have your consent to do that?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, great. Yeah. So is that the claim that you want to explore? You're welcome to pick a different conclusion that you want to examine today. Is that kind of one of the conclusions that you're most confident in, or we can talk about whatever you want to.
No, I would like to talk about this because the scientist people have done some research, and I went to a lot of websites that are science related, and most of them they actually claim that iron came from something called a giant. It was from a giant star.
Okay.
Yeah.
Iron came from a giant star, and you know this because of scientists' research and the information that you're getting from websites.
Yes. That's the information I'm getting here. It's called
Okay.
supernova explosion.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna try to do, like my goal right here with you is, at the end of our conversation, I would like for both of us to better understand your epistemology regarding this conclusion. And I'm going to be using what's called street epistemology. Have you ever heard of street epistemology?
No.
Okay. Street epistemology is a compassionate conversation tool that helps create a space for us to respectfully explore and examine the sufficiency of the reasons and the reliability of the methods you use to support a high level of confidence that a belief or a claim or a conclusion that you hold is likely true. Does that make sense so far?
It's a mouthful, but very accurate. Great, good stuff.
Yeah, I think David has the best explanation of what SE is that I've ever heard in one go.
I have many explanations, which vary in length.
Yeah.
I've been trying to whittle it down as much as possible as far as some feedback I've been getting. So I appreciate that, though. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's basically not really like a debate. I'm basically asking questions to better understand your position, and hopefully you'll be able to better understand your position as well. So does that sound okay with you?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to get an explanation to me that actually makes sense about this iron thing, because the research I've done about it is I'm actually seeing that the origin is from outer space, and most of it, not all that was from outer space, but most of the iron that came into the world, it was from the outer space. So if I have some knowledge from you that you can actually share with me, and I can actually acknowledge it, and it makes sense to me to be a foot in front for me, like a step forward.
Okay, so you are looking for more information about iron coming from outer space, and
exactly.
that will help you in your exploration. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's true.
Okay. Well, honestly, I'm not. I don't have a lot of knowledge in this subject, and so I may not be able to give you a whole lot of information that you probably already haven't gotten already. I'm basically interested in how you came to that conclusion. So I'd like to get a sense of how confident you are that iron came from outer space. So if we had a scale from 0 to 100, and 0 is you're not confident at all that this is true, and 100% is you are there's no way that you could be more confident. So on that scale, where would you put yourself as far as your confidence that iron comes from outer space?
I'm about 70-30%. 70 being I see it is true.
Okay, so you're 70% confident that iron comes from outer space?
Just one thing, Reid.
Yep.
Yes.
I thought it was really good that you were honest about, whether you had knowledge of that topic, and that was a good way of checking in to maintain consent for the conversation to keep going. So he's on board with it, and he really knows what the conversation is about now. Expectations aren't being missed. I'm really curious though, David, at this point, did you know why this claim was important to him?
I had an idea, and how it relates to his religious claims. We get into that a little bit here in this video, and then we do some more of that in the second one. I thought that it was important here by saying that I don't really have that much knowledge as far as that goes, to allow him to also feel like he could say that kind of stuff too, giving him the opportunity, kind of mirroring the behavior that I want my conversation partner to display.
Gotcha.
If he's not very confident about a specific subject, whether we're talking about it right now or next week, giving him the opportunity to not have a lot of knowledge in a particular subject if we start talking about it.
Yeah, good modeling, and rapport is insanely good too. I like the rapport that you've built. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, good stuff.
Okay, got you. So how important is it for you to believe true things on that same scale?
Because the 70%.
Mark almost made it today, but that's a very Mark question. Mark Solomon.
Yes,
being reasonable.
yes, I ripped that off from Mark for sure.
Good.
On that same scale.
Because the 70% I'm saying to you that I actually believe in is science can't be wrong, So the research that I've actually did about this iron thing coming from space.
What did he say?
Science cannot be wrong.
Hmm.
Yeah, I made a note about that. I thought that was interesting too. He's relying on scientific research to back this claim and others, as we'll see.
Okay.
I found a lot of research actually, because the studies being claimed that they came from outer space, from meteorites, from a supernova explosion. You understand? So personally, I don't see why I should not take this information as false completely, because if that's a study and they found it to be true, why should I not believe in it?
Right. Yeah. Basically, I'm asking you, how important is it for you to be believing true things on a scale from 0 to 100? Where would you put yourself as far as the importance to believe true things on that scale?
100%.
Okay. All right. Okay. So believing true things is very, very important to you, and you're 70% confident that this claim is true. Am I understanding that so far?
Yes.
Okay, great. And you said that the reason why you are at 70% confident is because of what the scientists say and the information that you gathered from websites. Is that which of those two reasons holds the most weight for your conclusion? Is it the scientist research, or is it the websites, or is it maybe kind of a
research? The scientific.
Okay.
Yeah, this is where I would try to make sure I would try to ask questions around, why is this important to talk about iron being from space? What is this relevance for you in life in general? And I assume we would get something close to like the Quran talks about this, and this is evidence for a God existing.
Yeah. Instead of trying to figure out what the main reason is.
Yeah, rather than focusing on this premise of like, iron coming from space.
Yeah, and then is anybody getting the double feedback? I'm hearing it twice now. I don't know if that's just me or.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay.
So, right.
Maybe it was just mine then.
Yeah.
I don't know why that started happening.
It might be from my Zoom thing. Anyway.
Yeah.
That might be an issue. Let me make sure that's not happening.
I think Reid makes a good point there, because if we are able to identify the relevance of it, and that the claims really that iron comes from space, therefore Islam must be true because it predicted it, then we're not really talking about an argument from authority. We're talking about an argument from prophecy. And so we go down a different line.
Right. Yeah. And this all comes a little later. I think my strategy right now was trying to figure out what's propping up this the most between scientific research and the websites that he's looking at. But yeah, I probably could have tried to focus more about the claim and how it relates to his other more important beliefs, I guess.
Yeah. And here's an example of me trying to do that. This is from like way back, like I think it's from early 2020 or late 2019. But this is kind of related.
Or iron.
Iron?
Like the element?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what else?
Or iron.
Iron? Like the element?
Yeah.
Whichever one you want to talk about.
Which one piques your interest?
Formation of the embryo. I mean, maybe like stepping back. Are you saying the Quran knew about these things before we, like as a society, knew about them?
Yeah.
And that would imply the Quran has some type of special knowledge or special capacity to get knowledge?
Yeah.
And if that is true, then that's more likely to be divinely inspired.
Yes. Because
And that is more likely to have like the God, Allah, being true.
Yeah, well, Allah just means God.
So I don't know if that's something we should do.
Yeah.
That might be some messaging issues there, but I want to focus on like the core claim, which is a God existing, ideally. What do y'all think?
Yeah.
I think you could do it both ways. I think I like both strategies, probably depending on the context. I like the idea of just seeing where it goes, because if you can have a conversation about the reasonability of just this claim and it turns out to have issues, then we need not to go to these other tangential claims. But at the same time, it can be helpful to just kind of get to the root of the matter. So I kind of like both of them. I kind of like both ways.
Yeah. I feel like I would want them to tell me this stuff instead of.
Yeah, I assume I would get there eventually.
Yeah.
I was just impatient that day.
I think it comes down to maybe professional judgment. So the way Reid was doing it there means that the conversation is going to be more efficient, and we get straight to what's the really relevant bit. But if it puts rapport at risk, it might be a rapport building exercise that you're doing. So I can see it working both ways.
Right. Let's keep going.
The websites, or is it maybe kind of a
research, the scientific? There's scientific researches that which is true. It's saying by scientific standards, it claims that the origin of iron is from a star known as red giants, which is a luminous giant star of intermediate mass that was exhausted the supply of hydrogen, and then it began something called thermonuclear fusion of hydrogen. Then it began to release helium into carbon and oxygen atom. Then it's a process, it's a process called the supernova. So it explodes.
So Reid, I'm getting the sound a bit fuzzy as it's coming through and playing.
Okay, it might be just you guys and not everybody else.
Maybe. Okay, I'll put up with it. Yeah.
But I think it. Let me just double check.
The original audio isn't necessarily the best either.
Yeah.
Of intermediate mass.
Oh, it
that
is.
Was exhausted.
Okay, let me brainstorm out of that. I think I can fix it. Hang on. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say too, when he had a slight surprise when you asked him from 0 to 100 whether or not he valued truth or whether or not believing true things was important to him, and he seemed really surprised by that. And I may have taken the time to say, because some people aren't. Like some people don't, because I've heard multiple people be surprised by that, and it may or may have not hurt. I don't think it hurt your rapport at all, but it could in some circumstances, because they could see it as kind of like a judgment of their character not caring about truth. But people who are surprised by that don't realize that there are people out there that legitimately say they don't care about truth as much.
Like of course, 100%. Why are you asking me this kind of thing?
Right. Whereas it's just like some people would say 0, or some people would say 5, or they value how useful it is or how much it helps them, as opposed to whether or not it's true. Useful it is.
So I'm wondering how do we tell how do we figure out how to ask that question?
I think the way that you asked it is good. I would have just taken the time to clarify after, like, oh, I'm only asking because of this. I'm only asking because some
Okay.
people don't.
Gotcha. And that could be commending them too for
Yeah.
for holding that in high regard, believing true things being important to you. That could be an opportunity to kind of commend them for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We check one thing.
It's a process called the supernova. So
All right, let me check the stream.
Much.
supernova. So
We check one thing.
it's a process called the supernova.
Okay, that sounds right on the stream now. Hopefully that works.
Yeah, it sounded good to me.
Great. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, let's keep going.
It's a process, It's a process called the supernova. So it explodes and it showers space with iron and oxygen and carbon atoms far and wide. And then from here, gravity does the job, and it actually forms the atoms into planets, including Earth. So what my point of view from this study is, not all iron on Earth's surface got here with the initial planetary formation.
Okay.
There's also massive chunks of rocks that's broken apart throughout the history of our solar system, sometimes through collisions with another maybe asteroids and stuff. And then from that perspective, it showered the Earth with chunks of rocks. Yes, that's what I actually understood from this.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like you know a lot about this and you've done a lot of research about it. So the main reason that you have come to the conclusion that iron comes from outer space is based on scientific research. That's your main reason?
Yes.
Okay. How much does this reason affect your confidence?
It affects my confidence on religiously on what I believe. It actually builds my confidence of what I believe in, because if the scientists and the science actually claim that it's true, and science does not know anything about my faith. Science is about facts and studies, and they don't actually do their studies relatively to faith. So it actually gives me a little bit confidence of what I believe in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he kind of did some hard work for me here. I was basically just asking him how much does this reason, how much weight does this reason hold for your confidence that iron comes from outer space? And he went ahead and did the hard work of making a relationship between that claim and his Islamic religious claims.
He made that connection.
Right. So he did that. He did that on his own, which I was pretty relieved, because I was trying to figure out, okay, so how am I gonna get to that meat of the issue that we've kind of been discussing so far. So by not answering the exact question, answering a better question got us a little further along into the claim.
Although, really, trying to go through the epistemology of how we know iron comes from space is also a great claim on its own, to talk about epistemology and science and how how that hypothesis has yet to be falsified, or how that came about. What's the history of that idea? History of like where the elements came from, what the earth is made of, what stuff is all around us.
Yeah.
And that's a fine thing to talk about, really, actually, just by itself. And you go into that. Should we keep going here or go to another timestamp? I think this is good stuff here, actually.
Sure. Yeah, and we're going a little faster
that's
than
fine.
what I planned for, so I think we're going to be fine
Yeah,
on
we're
time.
making good time.
Okay. So the scientific research that's the main reason for you to conclude that iron comes from outer space, and that gives you confidence in your religious beliefs?
It doesn't actually just gives me confidence. Personally, as a human being, I just don't follow religion blindly because my parents believe in it. I question a lot of things, and for something like this to actually come up as a scientific study and to be discussed in a religion, which the time that it was being discussed was a long time ago, it actually makes me question a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
That made me pop up in my mind this psychosocial need for attribution. I think he would. I assume he would say just believing what your parents say is not going to allow him to meet this psychological need for himself very well. So he has this scientific evidence to help him meet that need.
Yeah, he was pretty clear about not following his faith blindly.
Blindly.
So this conclusion affects your behavior. Would you say that that your conclusion that iron comes from outer space affects your behavior?
And personally, it's not only iron. There's a lot of scientific studies that it's being spoken in the Holy Quran. So I'm actually doing a lot of research on it, and it actually builds my confidence on the faith that I have. That it cannot be possible for a human being to have a probability. In mathematics, there's something called probability, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, if I'm a human being and I say like 10 things, and most of them like they become like, let's say 9 to 10 of it becomes true, then probably in mathematics it's not possible for a human being to actually, I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. So all of it be true.
Is he saying that if there were 1,000 prophecies in the Quran, that 999 come true, therefore it's highly probable that these are good prophecies? Is that what he's leaning to, something like that? Or
Sounds like it might be even less than that. It's just 9 out of 10.
Yeah,
pretty low.
Just exaggerating the example.
Yeah. I mean, that's the essence of it.
Yeah.
I think he actually says that it's impossible for a human to predict 10 out of 10 things.
Really?
And I wanted to go back to that because I could have listed off 10 things just off the top of my head that were predictions that he would probably accept as them being pretty good bets. Like the sun's going to come up tomorrow. I could list 10 things. Would that mean that I'm a prophet or whatever I write down is divine? Or
if we wanted to predict a coin toss 10 heads in a row and we just coins, we're going to get there in a few hours.
Right.
Yeah, that's Matt Dillahunty has that. He has a room full of people all with quarters and they flip it, and he says if you get a tail, sit down, but if you get a head, stand up. And eventually you got one person that's got like 10 heads in a row.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you just say, I'm going to get 10 heads in a row, it's going to be right one time.
Yeah. So what's our criteria then that would make for a good prophecy?
Right.
Great question.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I am having a little bit of trouble understanding what you're talking about right now. So maybe can you rephrase it?
Yeah, and I don't know if you heard about the scientific things that have been being discussed in the Holy Quran.
I'm a little bit familiar with science being very important to the conclusions made in the Quran. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, and personally for me, I am here to get answers. Like if there's somebody out there that can actually come to a conclusion that God does not exist, what are the thoughts of this person on something like this?
Yeah, Michael.
Maybe at this point it would be good to ask the question: where else could we go to find information to answer this question, apart from just being here in Clubhouse?
Which question? The iron question or the gun question?
The question of finding answers about whether this is a good prophecy. Where else could we go to? And I'm wondering there, like, what's the main argument you've heard from people who disagree that these are good prophecies? And where would you go to look for
prophecy
those?
yet? That word exactly?
I don't think he's mentioned prophecy specifically, but I think it's in this first video. We talk about the Red Book, and the Red Book is just this book that I made up that we found in the dirt somewhere that was older than the Quran, and it made
Scientific predictions.
Scientific predictions. You know, would that book be miraculous? Or I don't exactly remember how it's worded. It's possible it could be in the second video. I'm getting them kind of confused. But yeah, we do a kind of that thought experiment.
Yeah. He hasn't mentioned the word prophecy, but it sounds like that's the non-deductive argument he's relying on, based on everything that I've heard so far. He's drawing that as a
where I
connection.
went to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So maybe I can ask this. Hypothetically, let's just say hypothetically that you somehow found out to your satisfaction that iron does not come from outer space. How would that affect your confidence in your religious faith?
It should affect my religion somehow, because my confidence on religion. Because if it's true that and there's proof that it did not come from space, then it will affect my confidence very, very highly.
Okay.
All right. It would. He confirmed that it would. So that's
good.
We're going to go with that's a real reason.
Yep.
Got you. So why do you think that scientific research is a sufficient reason to come to conclusions?
Great question.
Okay, because one thing, somebody like me, for like, I don't know if you understand what I said earlier. Let's say you say 10 things, like you foreshadow 10 things that will come and happen in the future. The probability of all of them becoming true, it's very low.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I think I understand. So you're saying if I predict 10 things coming true in the future, the probability that all of those 10 things coming true is low?
It's impossible.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Interesting.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's impossible. At least maybe you can get 1 out of 10, maybe 2 out of 10. But most of them, almost 10 or 9 of them to become true, it's actually mind-blowing for me to just deny the, you know?
I see. Okay. So how does this relate to scientific research being a good reason to come to conclusions? Because that's your main, from what I understand, scientific research is the main reason why you've come to this conclusion. So what I'm asking is, why is that a good reason?
Because most of the science studies, some of them, they're actually facts, which is true, you know? Like, let's say, for example, embryology. We all know, like, we all know the process of embryology. There's nobody who can come today and say that it's not true, the process of a human, of a child, of a baby, of the process of the production of a baby, the embryology. We all know it's true, right?
Okay. Based on science.
Based on science, yeah. Based on science, and science
I did not want to go down
another.
I didn't want to even talk about embryology. We had plenty to work with right here. I thought.
Yeah, so easy to get distracted and go down rabbit holes.
Yeah, the Hydra, the IL Hydra.
Yeah.
Any comments, Quayd?
No, I think the Hydra idea might be a good image to potentially put in the course.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a useful imagery.
Mm-hmm.
It's factual, like I thought.
Okay, so the scientific research is a good reason to come to conclusions because science gives us facts. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, most of the studies, like not all of the scientific studies are actually all true, but we try to come with a logical ways of explaining things, you know, through a science.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? To me, what I'm hearing is he's really talking about predictions. He's mentioned predictions, and that's the real reason that I'm hearing. And that, yeah, if we found that the scientific evidence was not being interpreted correctly by him, then that would be a disqualifier. But at the heart of it, it's the prediction. It's the fact that the science have confirmed this prediction. And so it's the prediction. And to me, prediction is prophecy. And that's the sense that he's using it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that the main word that you used was interpretation. I'm not sure if we discussed the interpretation of science. We just focused on, or what I was trying to focus on was, why is science your main reason? Why is that a good reason to come to conclusions?
Yeah. So it's like there's two pathways you could go at this point. And this is the difficult thing for an interviewer, right? An SEer. You're seeing two pathways. One is, well, even if the science has confirmed this and he's interpreting it correctly, let's assume that. Let's give that. Is this a good prediction? So there's a pathway to go down. You know, what's the criteria for a good prediction? If there's evidence that people knew it already, is it a good prediction? You know, so there's things like that to look at. And then there's the path of whether, well, let's say it was a good prediction. Does the science confirm it? So that's the tricky point. It's like you've hit a fork in the road now. It's like, which direction do I take with this conversation? And that could be a hard thing.
Yeah, I think after listening to it, I guess one of the things, like you were saying, I'm also I'm not versed in how true this is or whatever. But if it sounds, the first part of his argument sounds reasonable to me. This idea that iron, maybe a lot of it on Earth comes from outer space, and it comes from outer space. He didn't say this exactly, but there seems to be some type of potentially some consensus, some type of scientific consensus, which I would agree with at that point. I think maybe one or a few scientific sources saying it isn't very, very persuading to me. But at that point, because I agree so much with the reasoning, I would probably try to turn the conversation into the prophecy conversation, or try to start inquiring about how they're connecting it to that.
Yeah, and I think in a bit, he's going to explain that in the Quran it says that that iron comes from the heavens, and so that's kind of the prediction or the prophecy that he's referring to when making this particular claim. And
by heavens, he means space. I assume that's what it means.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my assumption too. But yeah, I really like what you said, Michael, about the interpretation. I think whenever I run it from now on, whenever I run into science being a big reason why somebody holds a belief, is to kind of talk about the possibility of science being misinterpreted or not necessarily being interpreted accurately, instead of just kind of skipping over that and just assume that we're okay, so science says it, therefore this is the case. And I really want to get into the interpretation part, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that happens everywhere. I don't know about the US, but in Australia, we have all these people now that think they're constitutional lawyers and know that, you know, these lockdowns are illegal, and they can interpret that correctly, right? And then we have all these interpretations about the efficacy of vaccines, and people think that they're interpreting the material correctly. And so, yeah,
and interpretation in general too, interpretation with holy texts, interpretation of a speaker, or, you know, a religious leader, the interpretation of what they say. It doesn't have to necessarily just be about science. It's you know, our perceptions on, you know, interpretation about all kinds of sources.
Do any of you happen to know anything about I know that the general idea is that most things on Earth come from space, or most of the materials, most of the chemicals were derived from processes that happened before Earth was even formed. Do any of you know anything about this idea that the iron that we have on Earth today mostly comes from? I don't think it The idea of stars makes sense. It would have to be some type of meteorite or something, right?
I think all heavy elements come from the
The heavens.
stars exploding, and like
Yeah.
the elements in my right hand and the elements in my left hand probably came from different stars, which is interesting. And yeah, that's just part of the cosmological model I'm familiar with. And how do we know that though? Do I even know that? Like, I assume there's this we can take pictures of exploding stars and we can measure through highly sensitive equipment what elements are in those things, and that just allows us to make models and predictions. And I'm sure we can like measure very specific kinds of elements down to their whatever isotopes and stuff. I'm not a chemist, but yeah, this just all forms together, as a consilience model of the origin of the universe, the origin of planets and stars. Seems to all fit together like a puzzle piece to me.
Yeah, it is to me too.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all in outer space already. I don't think there's anything that isn't in outer space.
Yeah. So that's why I'd say like maybe it'd be interesting to have a conversation along those lines of like, okay, iron comes from outer space, but
everything else.
Yeah, it doesn't really everything.
And this ties into, what's our criteria for a good prediction? How could this prediction be worded more accurately and more precisely and less open to interpretation and things like that?
Would the Quran be more accurate if it said everything except for hydrogen comes from outer space?
Yeah.
Or like from stars,
Yeah.
from big stars.
Yeah. How could the Quran be better?
How could that have been worded more precisely?
More accurate.
How could this be a better prophecy?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, keep going.
Okay, so back to the conclusion. Iron comes from outer space. Is there a way to test that?
There's a it's actually from meteorites, some of them. Like, I don't know if maybe you can see the meteorite. You can go and look for some people who have, the people who gather meteorites. Most the components of most of iron.
I like people that have different accents. It's sort of cute when they go meteorites. It took me a second to work out what he was saying, but I like it.
Yeah, there's a lot of those, a lot of Easter eggs.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing about Clubhouse too, is that I get to hear people speak from all over the world. It really takes me out of my ethnocentric.
It's nice. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get the same kind of general demographic in West Hollywood. Diversify that a bit.
Yeah, a lot of people from India, a lot of people from Africa, South America, that kind of thing. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Most the components of most of the meteorites are iron.
Okay, so what would be a good way to test that iron comes from outer space? You're saying to look at meteorites?
Not only meteorites. Like, there's two processes that actually claims that there's this, and maybe I can do a small research. But there's actually, I think there's a study that tries to prove that we did not have iron before. Like, iron did not exist on Earth, first of all. Okay. Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that test? What's that test?
Actually, I have to look it up.
Okay.
If you can give me maybe a minute.
Well, I'm kind of.
Well, that's fine if it needs to look it up, but it also being able to come up with a test purely hypothetically is part of science as well. It's the creation of hypotheses that, if we found empirical evidence, would either disconfirm or provisionally confirm the hypothesis. So stuff like that can be just guessed, and then you go out and try to test your guesses, your hypotheses.
I'm interested in what your understanding of it is. Maybe
I actually had the study that actually says that iron was not on Earth before.
Okay. And so you have access to the test that was performed to conclude this?
There's the test, maybe The test is you see the it's I don't know how I can explain this. 1 minute.
Okay.
There's experiments, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Do you have
experiment?
Do you have an example of
There's
an experiment? Mhm.
Yeah, there's an experiment that was done by University of Texas. You can go and check it. You can write it down. Maybe you can go and actually see.
Yeah, this is good exploring of the unread library. Like, what did that test? It was about what was their hypothesis and what did they observe, and
what's his explanation of this test that he's talking about, like his interpretation of it. It's kind of what I was.
How does this fit into a larger model of like cosmology and a larger model of like Quranic prophecy, stuff like that?
Right.
What is your understanding?
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I also like how your pace, like the way you the tempo of the speech. It's quite good. It's not too fast. It allows time for space and thought. So
yeah, I felt a little bit like I was. I think it was because of the language gap. If anything, I thought that I was maybe a little bit condescending, kind of like talking to like a kid, but only because I really wanted to be clear and wanted him to understand what I was saying. And sometimes when I speak to somebody that has a different accent, I sometimes come off as like, being a little bit condescending. So that's kind of a self-criticism there. And this is at 1.25 or
1.25. Yeah.
Okay.
He's speaking a little bit fast.
This is played at 1.25.
Yeah.
Is that right?
So he's even slower.
So it's even slower. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. I'm the one who's slow then. Okay.
I wish I could put my brain on 1.25 sometimes.
Yeah.
Same.
Of that experiment.
It's a research that actually claims that the Earth's core formation was probably the biggest effect on the materials that actually make like iron.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a whole experiment which you wanted that was done by University of Texas. You can actually maybe go and check it out.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely do that.
Because it's actually I don't have I actually saw this long time ago. I have to go and read about it again so I can actually explain to you. But it was talking about that.
Okay. So you're aware of at least one experiment that the University of Texas performed that explains about iron coming from outer space before it was found on Earth or before it was on Earth. Does that summarize?
Yeah. There's a lot of university studies, research that actually pinpoint this.
Okay. Is there a way that we could tell that this conclusion is not true?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't actually tell. If
Gotcha.
yes, that's the thing. If they say that there's actually a research and an experiment done to prove that it did not come, that iron actually came from outer space, so it will be actually better for somebody to actually disprove this, and have a scientific explanation.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Okay. So you're at 70% confidence. What would you have to be shown to cause you to raise your confidence above 70?
I will have to be shown that to prove that it did not exist, not just to claim that maybe the theories that are there, it claims that iron came from outer space. Why? The supernova explosion and the asteroids bumping into each other and then coming down into the Earth and other planets, and thus bringing iron down, right? That's a study which is actually they've done studies and actually seen it's true, right? But then I will be 100% sure on this topic if they can actually prove that it did not exist before.
And how do you think that they would be able to prove that?
There's a lot of ways they can actually prove that. There already theories out.
Okay.
Yeah, like the theories I just gave you right now, the University of Texas. They already. Maybe I can go and actually read about it. Then I will, or you can go and read about it when you have time.
Yeah, maybe next time we talk, you can say more about that.
So you're trying to discuss the question, where does iron come from? Is that the question you're trying to discuss?
The claim is iron comes from outer space. How could we raise that confidence?
What are the alternative hypotheses from? Is it like terrestrial versus space? Are those the two main categories? I guess so.
Yeah.
Are there like more specific kinds of hypotheses within each? And which one is he talking about? I'd love to like get a few
of all the options.
Yeah, just get a bunch on the table to discuss, and which one is the Quran talking about, and how we distinguish these.
Yeah, clarifying what when did this happen, and where is iron on Earth, and how where did it come from to get there? Just a bit of clarification.
Yeah, I think some of these questions are going to be answered very shortly.
Okay.
There's one numerical match between there's like a certain amount of verses in the Quran, and that number matches up with the amount of meters we have to go down into Earth to get to iron.
Really? Okay, well.
So it's like a
or something like
correlation. I've got a good website for that. Wait till we get there.
Yeah, I'll write that down. So next time we have a talk, this will be the topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say that if you
and that was a good time to bring up planting that seed about having a next talk. Because he's saying, okay, I'm going to go and read this. You can go and read this if you want to. Okay, great. Why don't we talk about that in our next talk? Already kind of planting that seed. Hey, I want to have another one of these, to kind of put that in his brain.
Yeah.
Because I don't have these puzzle pieces to hand out.
Yeah, we can't.
In Clubhouse.
Can't give people puzzle pieces in Clubhouse. Anyway, here we go.
If you were exposed to even more research that showed and demonstrated this to be true, that would raise your confidence?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any criteria that would cause you to lower your confidence about this?
Yes, to disprove it, all to be false.
Okay, and so what information would you have to receive that would convince you to lower your confidence about it?
Factual or scientific proof.
Okay, do you have an example of what that might look like?
Like, let's say, for example, we know that. Do you believe that the humans are actually made from water? Like there's a scientific proof, right? That was done to actually prove it.
Yeah, from my understanding,
like most of our body, it contains water, right?
Yeah, that's my understanding of that topic. Yeah, that we're made up mostly of water.
Yeah. So how did they actually come upon this? They did some studies, right?
Yeah, scientific research studies. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
So that's, yeah.
I guess, is there a specific example of criteria that you would have to learn to lower your confidence about iron coming from outer space? Like, I understand that scientific research proving it wrong would cause you to lower your confidence, but I guess I'm asking for maybe a specific example of what science could tell you that would cause you to lower your confidence in this. Do you have an example?
The example, the specific example, it's like I don't have a specific example. It's just a research. Maybe I can actually go and look about it and see what they're saying if it's actually true.
Okay.
Scientific reasons.
So you don't have a specific example of what would lower your confidence, but you're interested in maybe going.
Like example of like let's say like right now, I believe that it's true that iron comes from meteorite, which comes from outer space.
Got you. Got
Okay.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if you come to me and tell me that
All right, that's a specific outer space hypothesis. What percent of iron on Earth came from a meteorite? 100%? That's I'm clarifying.
And when did this happen? Like,
Yeah.
I'm presuming that when the Earth was formed, it all came from outer space, right?
Sure,
And just
should
clumped
there
together
be-
with gravity.
Should there just be a big continent made of iron or something?
Yeah.
How big was this thing?
Yeah, what was the process? What was this process like?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing.
It seems like that would throw off the magnetic field potentially if there's a big chunk of iron somewhere. Anyway,
it's meteorite, iron comes from meteorite and meteorite comes from space, I'd ask you how do you actually prove that this point is true? And then if you do some studies on the meteorite and find like maybe 90% of it contains iron, then it's logical for me to believe it, right?
That would be a demonstration of why the claim is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would be a demonstration of it not being true?
The demonstration of it not being true. I would have to the demonstration.
that's a hard question for even me to think about. What would demonstrate iron did not come from outer space? How would that work?
Yeah,
I was thinking of something with like dating mechanisms, but
Yeah.
like some type of.
Or just not come from a meteorite? What needs to be disconfirmed to lower the confidence in the prophecy of the Quran, if that's what we're talking about, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
it comes-
conflicted. Yeah, go ahead.
It comes down to, I think, clarifying the claim a bit more. If the claim is that all iron existed on Earth at the point where Earth was formed, then something that would falsify that would be carbon dating of iron to show that maybe it arrived here later after the point that Earth was formed, or examples of meteorites that have fallen that have iron on them, things like that.
If we have different kinds of iron on Earth, and then we took, like, we launched a whatever satellite or a probe and landed on a meteorite, and it matched the same iron that's on Earth, or in like a very specific part of Earth, that would be good evidence.
That would confirm it.
That would confirm it. Yeah.
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 Or if we surveyed 1,000 meteorites and they're all different from what we found on Earth, then maybe all the iron on Earth did not come from meteorites. Maybe.
That would be something that would disconfirm it, or possibly.
Maybe.
Or if you notice that iron is being created at a certain rate on Earth, and you can kind of like make an inference about the amount that's here now and how much would have been created over a certain amount of time.
I would have to go and do some research on this question.
Okay. Yeah,
Next
that's
time, this will
perfectly
be
fine.
the topic we talk about.
Okay.
The demonstration of iron not coming from outer space, right? Specific example.
Yeah. What would be a satisfactory demonstration of this claim not being true is basically what we're looking at.
Yeah, I asked Nathan if he wanted to come on, but he seems to have a bad back today. So sorry about that, Nathan.
I
Next
feel
time.
you.
Yeah.
It's all the swimming pool parties he goes to. That's the issue.
All that fire spinning and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Gym. Probably have another gym.
Yeah.
I have to say, I really appreciate your openness to going and investigating more. I think that's very admirable, and I applaud you for that.
Thanks so much, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much too for
That's really nice, David.
answer.
Yeah, good stuff.
I think that's really nice the way the rapport is like really good. The way you relate to people, it's nice.
Yeah, I'm actually conflicted because of that, because I'm like, it would be nice. I feel like realistically you do, or at least I do, agree with them on, again, the original claim they made. I agree with them, and I agree that their reasoning with a few modifications sounds pretty good. So I would just want to move on to the prophecy claim, but at the same time, the rapport, they seem to still be thinking about important things, and the rapport is still there. So
Yeah, and just the fact that he's willing to say, I need to go and reread this stuff. I need to do more research. That's kind of what we want. From my understanding, we want people to be open to learning more about what they're saying.
Yeah.
And kind of communicating that. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Giving me some thoughts that I should actually go and get an understanding from it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to say or talk about?
Another thing I could have actually asked you is, this is another question we'll talk about the other time, okay?
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to end here and then have another talk some other time?
No, we will schedule another time. We will have a chat. Then we will actually speak about the two questions. One of the questions will be the demonstration of I not coming from Earth, which specific demonstration will they actually like want to hear, so that you can actually like what will actually like. And I don't, sorry, English is not my first language. Which demonstration
no
will actually
problem.
like make sense to you first, yeah. And the second thing I would like us to actually tackle next when we come into the next chat,
Yeah,
is something like the thing is, the only way that you can actually most of the time, I think, is disproving a lot of religions is science. I don't know if you see that it's true.
you're saying that science disproves some religions? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, we can talk about that. We can talk about that next time.
So yes, and what is your thoughts on something like, let's say, somebody let's say, for example, right now the Quran. We believe that the Quran is a revelation, right? That came from God. Not you, me, right? That's what I believe.
This is your belief. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is my belief, right?
Okay.
So, if somebody comes and claim that iron did not come from iron was not from Earth before, it came from outer space. If somebody comes with that claim at the medieval time, and the science people start bringing some studies right now, like, what is your thoughts on something like this? Like, how did this guy during those times know about something like that, which needs research and studies?
Yeah, I'd have to think about that, because I've never really explored how iron coming from outer space is a demonstration of a religious claim being true. I've never really thought about it that way.
Yeah,
That would be.
the thing is that
Sorry.
then we know some.
Yep.
I think that would be a perfect time to talk about, well, what criteria would make for a good prediction there? That's like the perfect moment for a segue into that, I think.
Yeah.
Because that's right on his mind. How can this be? How can this be?
Right. Yeah. How could this not be?
Yeah. Yeah. More specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah. This must be true. That it was predicted.
Yeah. There's no other explanation, that kind of thing. Yeah. I think we get into that in the second video.
Okay.
Sometimes you can actually try to say that the verse actually it means another thing, like it has a different. But this verse was very direct. Like, it's saying, like, did you not see we sent iron from the heavens to you? You know.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
so direct.
There's a passage in the Quran that says that iron comes from the heavens, and since we didn't have the scientific research at the time that the Quran was given, that's a demonstration that.
And I will tell you another thing. I'll tell you another thing which you don't know about. Sorry. The thing is that about this iron thing, we all know the atomic number is 26, right? The atomic number of iron, right?
Like I said, I don't have that much knowledge about
okay, I'll tell you. The atomic number of iron is 26, and if you do the geometrical value of the word iron in Arabic, it's actually like it sums up to 26. You know. And then there's the natural occurring ion consists of 4 stable isotopes. which is 54, 56, 57, 58. One of them is 57. This verse that actually speaks about this ion, it's verse number 57. And then another thing is the number of verses to the ion verse in the Quran is the same number as kilometers to ion on Earth. From the beginning of the Quran, there is 5,100 verses to the ion verse in chapter ion. And it turns out that iron on Earth is concentrated at its core 5,100 kilometers below the surface.
Okay, I think I'm understanding. I think I'm understanding you. So there is a numerical match between the amount of verses about iron in the Quran with the distance or the makeup of iron and the distance in kilometers to where iron is on the earth. And so that is a demonstration to you that the Quran makes true statements.
No, not basically. Is this is what I'm trying to find out.
Okay.
So like right now, this claim, it actually consists of the iron. You understand?
Right. Yeah.
So there's a connection between these two things, right?
There's a connection between what iron is like and what the Quran says about iron.
It's claiming about, yeah. So my question is, all these claims for a lot of people who actually believe that this book was written by a human being, for this guy to actually have all these things, like it doesn't sum up. Like for me, it doesn't sum up at all. You know?
So this is getting into a different type of argument now, and this is where it can be easy to get off track. So we've gone from argument from authority to argument from prophecy, prediction, and now it seems like he's talking about argument from some sort of coincidence, correlation.
Right.
Yeah. And I've got a really, I think your rapport's good enough here to like maybe test that with him and ask him, you know, if hypothetically speaking, not saying this is true, if someone was to say that our brains are primed to seek patterns and you discovered that we could find similar coincidences in many other things that seemed really strange, how would that affect your confidence? I don't know how that would work, but I think your rapport's good enough. But this is a good website. I'll just drop it into the chat. It's, I don't know if you've come across it before, Spurious Correlations. You familiar with that?
Oh,
one?
yeah.
Yeah, I'll drop it in there. But
Thanks.
Write that down.
Good stuff.
you've got stuff like, here's an interesting one. What is it? Where's Maine in the US? M-A-I-N-E. Where's that?
Top right.
All right. So the divorce rate there between the period of 2000 and 2009 correlates with the per capita consumption of margarine, and they both follow the exact line.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. Our brains are primed to see these patterns. Here's another one.
Ice cream versus I've seen. Yeah.
Here's a good one. Letters in winning word of Scripps National Spelling Bee. So those letters in that winning word, they correlate with the number of people killed by venomous spiders between 1999 and 2009. So I know it's not a good analogy, but it gets to the point where have you considered, and you know, if someone was to disagree with this because of reasons like this, if you found that, for example, in Moby Dick, someone could find similar correlations between the number of words leading up to a point in Moby Dick, and that this correlated to an actual fact about the world, would that mean that the author of Moby Dick was unusually ingenious? You know, things like that. Would that change your confidence? I think your rapport is good enough to be able to go there with that sort of stuff.
And another, something else to maybe ask possibly could be, you know, if we found some of these numeric correlations with a different religion, would that be a good reason to think that the holy book in that religion was something to get other information from, to be confident in? I think at this point, I thought that the chat was basically over. So this is all gravy from
for next time
here. So I did.
Yeah, I'm trying to map out the previous argument about this iron coming from space. It seems like this is the argument he's trying to make, and we only talked about this specific premise. Science confirms that irons come from space. So basically, the argument is Islam is true because the Quran is revelation from God. He said that. The Quran claims that iron comes from space. Science confirms that iron comes from space. Science confirms existence of God. I'm not sure he said that explicitly, but that seems like a connecting assumption.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if God is true, then Islam is true is another one I would want to
Yeah.
talk about as well, potentially.
Yeah. I didn't do a good job of associating all this with his religious belief. I was really just kind of focusing on the actual claim that he made from the beginning. I could probably do a better job at kind of associating this particular claim. What significance does this have in your life? Kind of thing, instead of just focusing on the actual claim, because the claim is, iron comes from outer space, and it's like, well, who cares? If I didn't know that and I found that out, how would my day-to-day behavior be different? And it probably wouldn't be. So
Yeah, the who cares question is really just a simple way of asking what's the relevance,
right.
What's the connecting assumptions here?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to break them apart one by one, premise by premise, and get them all out there next to each other to see if it is, if it's valid, at least. If they're even if they all were true, do they connect and imply something? Yeah. So we've gone an hour and 20. Want to keep going? How's your guys' time?
Sure.
I'm good.
All right. Good. There's only like 12 more minutes left. 10 more minutes.
Yeah, you could probably cut the outro too.
Okay, great. Yeah. So just a few more minutes.
It was a long time ago.
Okay, so the probability
it's low.
Is low that a human would know about these things back then.
Not even know about this thing. Like, for example, I told you the verse from the start up to the verse where it speaks about iron, it's 5,100, not 5,200, not 100, not. And if you come and see the distance from the distance from the Earth to the concentrated of where you find the iron core, is 5,100 kilometers below the surface. So
hang on, what did he say?
he's making the match between the amount of verses from the beginning of the Quran.
Every verse is a foot to the layer of iron.
No, the amount of verses from the beginning of the Quran until it gets to the iron part.
Yeah,
that correlates with the amount of kilometers.
Verse per kilometer. He's saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
I mean, wow.
So it's actually questionable. Like how did he actually know about, like the how far it is? He didn't measure it. There's nobody who.
This is the relevance of the spurious correlations of the website. Yeah.
Right.
Actually knew about how far that time,
Okay, and you're saying that so who wrote the Quran?
That's the thing. It cannot be from a human being. It can't, because if it came from a human being, then that human must have some supernatural powers,
Interesting premises.
It's something like questionable.
Yeah.
Because the verse says, we sent down with them. We sent down iron in it great might and benefits for humanity. And then now, universities, they come with studies to prove that actually we didn't have iron before. So it's questionable. If this guy wrote this, how did he know about this?
Okay. If a human had written the Quran, then it wouldn't have.
That's a great question to start brainstorming alternative hypotheses to.
Yeah.
and then trying to rank which ones are more plausible, and then how to test these different hypotheses.
The probabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Matched up with what we now know about the makeup of iron and where to find it.
Exactly. Where we find it, the verse that actually came was 57. The isotope of iron is 57. The word iron in Arabic is called hadith. If we check the 4 letters, their geometrical value is 26, which is the atomic number of iron. It's not like only one statement. Like it's more. It's a lot. The word its geometrical value is 26. The atomic number is 26. The verse is about
the atomic number is 26.
Yes.
26 what? What is the unit stand for of 26?
This is the atomic number of.
What was your thinking with that question?
I wanted to maybe start putting out hypotheticals about if we found out that the atomic number for iron was not 26, what would that mean? And he's right. A lot of this stuff I don't know. I didn't know the atomic number for iron was 26, and it has to do with the amount of protons. So, yeah, I'm getting kind of a lesson here.
Nathan asks or comments, if a Christian came up to us and said that a human being couldn't have written the New Testament, what question would you ask them?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's the best question to ask a Muslim, because they also think the New Testament was divinely inspired by the same God, but they just get some things wrong.
Prophets. And
So, yeah.
Maybe something like since the Christian Bible talks about 12 disciples and there's 12 nations of Israel or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of other.
This is where Hinduism is a good outsider test.
Yeah.
so we're not all in the same story here.
Right.
Yeah.
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 But as far as the numerical correlations that people can find if they look hard enough.
I mean, but Hinduism and Buddhism were talking about, the evolution or the common descent of species way before.
Oh yeah.
Darwin wrote his book. That's pretty, impressive. At least if this is impressive, then that's even more so. But
so you're saying a good question to ask maybe would be if we were looking in a Hindu text and we found a numerical correlation with a prophecy, that would cause us to think that everything in the Hindu text is also true.
Yeah, outsider test. Yeah. Keep going.
Of iron.
Okay, what is when you say atomic number? What do you mean?
Atomic number?
Right.
Atomic number is the number of protons in the nucleus of an atom.
Okay. And that lines up with.
It determines how many electrons surround the nucleus.
Okay. And that number 26 lines up with something 26 in the Quran.
Not something 26. The word iron in Arabic that was written there, its geometrical value of the word, it's 20. It sums up to 26. Like each letter.
What does that mean?
Okay, so I think what he's saying is that if you count the number of spaces of each letter, for example, C is 3, D is 4, and you add those numbers up, but the letters, it comes to 20.
You take the square root of all the sums of all the letters.
So if we could find, so if we could do that with some other word in a Hindu text, would that mean that is true? Yeah, you could do an outsider test on anything with this. Yeah.
If we just pick some random book off the bookshelf in a library and did you do it?
I think someone's.
It says be true.
I think someone's done this with the Moby Dick story. Like, are you familiar with that, Reid? Someone's done it, right?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about the amount of things that 42 could be related to in the universe. Yeah, or 23. Yeah, another one.
Yeah.
Seek and you shall find.
Yeah. This is starting with the conclusion and adding whatever. Seems interesting or possible.
Making it fit.
First letter is the number 8 in the alphabetical order. and the second letter is the fourth alphabetical, like it goes. It's the fourth alphabet on the Arabic language, and the third one is the 10th, and the fourth one is the fourth. So if you add these four alphabets, they all sum up to 26. And the verse that speaks about this ion, it's number 57. And the isotope of iron is 57. You see?
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's a lot
Okay.
of connections.
Sorry.
I see. So based on the amount of connections that you've found with those two,
This is the advantage of Clubhouse. You don't have to like show your face and your expressions. That
I
way.
love it.
You don't need a poker face with Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
aspects, that's what's causing you to, like, what does that mean for you? Does that mean that that the Quran was written by somebody other than human? Is that kind of what you're
Yeah,
saying?
basically the topic, what we're talking about right now, iron and most of the elements on Earth, the science claims they came from outer space.
Yeah, this reminds me of Reid.
Yeah.
This reminds me of my wife. I hope she doesn't see this. Whenever the lotto numbers come out, she
Don't
always,
say it.
whenever the lotto numbers comes out, she always says, "See, that's the number of our house. We should have put that in there." You know, it's like,
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a good one, I think, because that's pretty common, especially among people who buy lottery tickets, is to say, "Oh, if I would only done this," or "Oh, I did this and it was this thing."
yeah.
It's a pretty easy thing to do. I'm not sure how to phrase it though. That's definitely the issue. I'm not sure what question I would ask to like get them to think about it.
Yeah. Take the past 10 lottery winners, ask them what did they use to pick their questions, and
Yeah, that's a good
are
one.
they the same model? Are they the same process recipe?
Mm.
Or is it just random guesses? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it will actually be mind blowing for somebody to know about all this during that time.
Yeah, it's definitely fascinating. I
It's
was
fascinating.
wondering.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
Yeah,
It's fascinating.
I was wondering though, hypothetically speaking, if we went back and we actually found out that the number for iron wasn't actually 26, it was 27. And I know I'm not saying that this is actually the case, but if we somehow found out tomorrow that science discovered that the number for iron is not 26, what would that mean for you?
This is checking the soundness of the premise. Really, we're talking. There's a bigger issue of validity of this argument, which I would probably focus on more rather than the soundness of a specific premise.
Yeah, and I was actually thinking too, like a good question now that I'm thinking of is, do they mention any other essential elements in the Quran, and do their numbers correspond to the atomic, or do their letters correspond? And if not, why isn't that the case for them as well?
Yeah.
Why is it just with iron that the Quran does this, but not with other elements?
Yeah. Are there other examples in the Quran that don't match up?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
It's not possible, you know.
You're right. This is just a hypothetical situation.
Yeah.
Let's say tomorrow they discovered that they were wrong. It wasn't 26. It's actually 27. Just in this thought experiment, what would that mean for you and your conclusions about the authorship of the Quran?
It won't change that of much thing, you know, because at the end of the day, this thing that we are all talking about is theories, science. What I actually believe in is most of the things that was actually written in the Quran, even if most of them, the scientists, they actually like proved it as true, and most of them they have not even like let me tell you one thing. For example, in Quran, God says that we are not the only people on Earth. Like, we believe in extraterrestrial life, and this is a story that is starting to come up now. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a good question here is: are there any things in the Quran that science have shown not to be true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Can we
basic-
list all the scientific predictions or scientific claims in the Quran? What percent turn out to be the case or not the case nowadays? And what does that even mean? How does that even relate to anything else you want to claim? like a God existing.
Yeah. From that source.
Even if it was 100%, how does that relate to a God existing?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to say too, Amos Ludwig asked the same question I did. I didn't see his before I came up with my question. I just didn't want for that to be confused. But they said they were asking the same thing: is copper or gold or aluminum? Do those correspond with the atomic numbers? And why not? If not,
other elements.
Yeah.
Right. Good stuff.
So and it's fascinating, you know. My question is just like it's fascinating, and for somebody who lived in such a time that they didn't even have like technology they were riding camels and stuff, to actually say that there's a place on the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean that the water doesn't mix. So if he wrote this on his book, and then 100 years from now, scientists they actually come and actually find about this thing and see it's true. There's a part, it's actually true. There's a part on the Atlantic and the Pacific that don't mix. The water doesn't mix at all. So it's fascinating, bro. Like I'll question. I'm a human being. You know?
Yeah, I love that.
I'll question. Yeah.
Great. Keep questioning.
Yeah.
So the rapport is really good. He's calling you brother. See?
Yeah.
So it's fascinating, bro. It's nice.
Like, how is it possible? Like, is this guy? Who told him about this? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I just want to make sure I understand something. So if somehow we found out that the number for iron was 27, not 26, that wouldn't have much. I'm sorry.
It will lower my confidence.
It would lower your confidence. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
had
it would lower.
misunderstood that too.
All right. So it does have an effect.
I think you said something different before, but now I think you did. Maybe I misheard as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At first, it sounded like it wouldn't affect his confidence, and now after clarifying, I found out that yes, it would affect his confidence if the number was not the same.
On your confidence.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we'll end it here. I definitely want to talk to you again. I'll be in touch with you, and we can set up another chat. This has been really interesting for me.
Yes.
How do you feel about it so far? Just our conversation.
It's actually very nice talking to you, man.
Oh, great. Yeah, you as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know that it's probably getting late where you are, so I hope you have a good night, and I will contact you again, and we'll do another one of these. Okay?
Yes, and God wills. Yes.
Awesome. Take care. Okay.
Yeah, you too. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Nice. Really good. Yeah.
Great job.
Yeah, it's a good setup for a second one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
We'll have to do a part 2
Yeah.
potentially. Yeah, awesome. So cool. Any last words? Any last comments?
Every time I listen to
rapport.
it, go ahead.
Just great rapport.
No, thanks. Yeah, I hear something new every time. So the whole idea of recording yourself and going back and listening to it, even if it's just for your own education, it's priceless. You know, I learned more things this time that I had missed before, and the other times that I've listened to it. So I highly recommend doing that if anybody's interested in doing anything like this. Of course, you know, with consent, record it and listen to it more than once. It's like reading a good book. You find new things every time.
Yeah. I'm really interested. So I know we played this at 1.25, but to me, it sounded like a really good pace. You felt that it might have been a bit condescending. You were worried about that because it was a little bit slow. Once you've heard it back a few times, did you, after listening to it a couple of times, did you change your view and think, no, this was okay? Or what is your thought?
I still feel like, especially at the beginning, you know, and it's really sincere. I'm not trying to talk to him like he's a little kid, but I hear that from me, and it's because of the language barrier. It's almost like, you know, speaking to somebody that's hard of hearing, and you're kind of overdoing it to where it's irritating to them. That's kind of the arena that I found myself in.
Okay. Have you spoken to anyone else and asked them what they think on it?
About the pace and about this video?
About whether it comes across as condescending, because that seems to be a concern of yours.
You know, I've been told several times when I'm doing SE, I come off as condescending, but for other reasons, not because of a language barrier.
Yeah.
Just from learning at first and not doing a very good job when I first started. That was one of the criticisms that I was getting, but of course, that was for a different reason, not because of language.
Yeah. Well, I've heard a couple of your SE talks at normal pace, and I really like the pace. I don't find it condescending at all. I think it's really helpful. It's a nice style for me.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be trying to go out to UCLA tomorrow. School is back in session. We'll see how it goes. We can do some more IRL SE. Stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. If there's no more questions or comments, great. Thanks everyone for watching, and we will catch you next time.
Good to see you guys again.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you later.